square on your bingo challenge if you're doing the bingo card this month. All it means is just bringing a brand new friend to the studio for that week. And then also December 1st through 4th, our retreat to the Himalayan Institute. That's about a 3-hour drive north. You definitely can bring friends or family to that with you who are not from the evolution community, and they don't have to be people who do yoga actively like this. We'll be doing some restorative classes, some classes like this, but there'll be enough for everyone there. Great food, so I'm hoping you'll come with me. I'll be there. Let's get started. Let's come into child's pose. On your mat with your toes together at the back, your knees open, settle your hips back to your heels, and then just stretch your arms forward. Now, I will be bringing around here in studio our assisting cards. They say yes on one side, no on the other, and they just refer to hands-on assists. You can flip it over at any point from the yes to the no, depending on what you want and you are practiced at that moment. I'm going to grab a couple more cards from outside of the room. Take a deep breath in. Fill up your lungs, then open your mouth and let all of the air out. Create slow, steady, deep, rhythmic breath. As you're breathing, look to create an inhale that lasts about 3 counts, and then a pause, and an exhale that lasts about 3 counts, and a pause after that. Create the quality of your breathing so that the third count is just as robust as the first count was of the inhale or the exhale. Keep your attention on your breathing throughout your practice, and we'll come back to it again and again. Inevitably, you'll have to start all over from time to time throughout the practice. It's normal. On your next inhale, lift your body up into downward facing dog. So make the shape of an upside down letter V, your hips being the top point. Keep your breath flowing. Now, with your gaze set to the back center of your mat, we call that your drishti, where you purposefully set your gaze. It helps to put your attention in one space here in the mat, on your mat in the room. Now, as I look around the room, I see for a lot of you, you could set your hands wider and your feet wider on the mat. And then you could also walk your feet, a lot of you, back toward the back of your mat a little more. For each person on the mat, squeeze each one of your fingertips to the mat and just spread your fingers wide. So grip the mat like a cat pawing a pillow. And then when you have that great foundation with your hands, soften your knees and drag your hips up and away from your fingertips. Take a deep breath in. Once you exhale, look forward and step up to the front of your mat. When you get there, lift up halfway so your whole spine is long, and then hang down. Now, while you're hanging down, have a look at your feet and line them up to be parallel to one another. So like if they were hands on a clock, they'd be facing 12 o'clock. And then you can sway from side to side and feel your weight shift throughout your feet. Lift your 10 toes up in the air for a few moments and let the knuckle, the mound of your big toe, press that down into the mat and the center of each heel into the mat. Then when you have all that, you can just let your toes softly rest on the mat. Next breath, press your feet into the ground and come rolling up to standing until you can sweep your arms overhead, look up, stretch up, and then bring your hands into prayer position at the center of your chest and pause. Now just set your gaze on one still point in the room and set an intention for your practice. So the way that we do that is we make an inner statement that sounds like I am. And the words that come after, you choose those, but something that has a kind and a loving quality to it. And then that becomes the North Star for every pose we create throughout the practice. Set your intention. 3 times we'll chant Om together to create a clearing and get us ready for the practice together. Take a deep breath in. Inhale, reach up to the ceiling. Now fold down to the floor as you exhale. Lift up halfway and set your gaze right under your eyes on the floor and keep it there. Now high plank to low plank and keep your gaze. Inhale, upward facing dog, lift up, look up. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths together. Breathe in and a long breath out. 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, bend your knees. Step or jump up to your hands. Then halfway lift. Forward fold. Press your feet down. Stand up. Lift up. Look up. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, lift up halfway. High plank to low plank as you exhale. Inhale, lift your chest. Press the floor. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now, while you're breathing your 3 breaths here, let the thumb side of your hand just sink down into the mat. And then once you feel the thumb side of your hand sink down into the mat, imagine you're hugging your arms together. Take a last breath in here. Exhale, bend your knees, and then jump up to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Inhale, stand, reach as high as you can, and then go back, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, drop to your low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now in your downward dog with the soft knees, keep your hands where they are, but drag your hips up and back to the wall behind you. Let's do 1 more breath in here. Exhale, bend your knees, squeeze the mat, jump up to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. 1 more round. Stand up, look up, reach up, fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, lift halfway, drop to the low plank on your exhale. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Work your breaths together. Breathe and empty. Last time. When you exhale, bend your knees and jump to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Chair poses next. Sit back, reach with your arms. Breathe right here. Take a quick peek down at your feet. If your toes have turned out, try to line them up like hands on a clock and see if you can sit a little deeper into your heels. Once you're sitting back into your heels as much as you can, gather the pit of your belly into your body. And then reach to keep yourself from falling back as you sit deeper. 1 more breath in, look up, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, drop to the low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward to lunge for warrior 1. Hold this pose and breathe. You can keep your gaze up to the ceiling, your drishti, but with your felt sense, an inner sense of feeling and knowing where your body is, press the back edge of your back foot down into the mat. And while you're pressing the back edge of your back foot, fire up your back leg so it feels like your hamstrings are pressing into the ceiling. When you feel your whole back leg light up, lunge down deeper. Pull your belly in, reach up to the ceiling, hands to the floor, low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Now the left side, step forward and lunge, arms overhead, and we'll breathe here. Once you've got your back leg, then you can lunge down into your front knee and lift the pit of your belly up. Now right here for 3 breaths. Powerful, strong back leg. 2 more here. Finish the whole last breath. Then hands to the floor for a low push-up. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Full breath out. Deep breath in. Full breath out. Here's the last. Inhale. Get ready to move and jump. Halfway lift. Forward fold. We'll move now. Chair pose. Sit and reach. Fold to the floor. Halfway lift. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward and lunge. Inhale, look up and reach up. Hands to the floor. Empty your breath and hover here. Then inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left foot, step it forward. Lift up and reach. Hands to the floor, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. So still we have all 4 of the parts of breath that we began with. An inhale, a pause, an exhale, and a pause. And inside of those 4 parts of breath, there are movements. Take a breath in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold, chair pose, sit, reach, pause, fold to the floor and pause. Halfway lift and pause, chaturanga and pause. Upward facing dog, pause. Downward facing dog, step your right foot forward on the pause. Inhale, reach up, hands to the floor, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Left foot, step forward and lunge. Lift, hands to the floor, chaturanga. Up dog to downward facing dog. So you're starting to get acquainted with the skin you're in and starting to choose your practice. One more breath in. Breath out, bend your knees, jump. Halfway lift, forward fold, chair pose, sit, breathe, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, stretch, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, step your right foot forward, lunge. Inhale, reach up, lift, hands to the floor, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, left foot step, lunge. Anchor your back foot and reach up, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in and have a sigh. Deep breath in and a sigh. One more. Inhale, bend your knees on the exhale, move. Halfway lift, forward fold. Last round. Chair pose. Sit back and reach. Fold to the floor. Halfway lift, drop to the low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, right foot forward, lunge, look up, lift, hands down, chaturanga, and empty. Up dog, down dog, left side step. You're starting to feel your heart rate rising, reach up, hands down, chaturanga. Gets a little harder to maintain the fullness of the breath. Up dog and downward facing dog. And yes, it will naturally quicken. Take a couple of breaths here, maybe a sigh or two to just reset for yourself, to make a clearing. Raise your right leg into the air behind you. So with your right hand pressing down, your right leg in the air, bend your right knee and open your hip toward the right. Pause here for a second and create a stretching from your hand on the ground all the way up to your knee. Then flip the pose over. Left hand stays on the mat, then 2 feet to the mat. Reach up and overhead. You might be reaching across the room or all the way to the floor and creating a wheel pose. Breathe and locate the spot inside your body that you would like to transform right now in this pose. Put your attention there. Breathe and be for the transformation there. Side plank. Bring your right hand to the mat. Face the long left side of your mat and stack your body up. So like you're this capital letter T that has tipped over. For a lot of us, that means draw the pit of your belly into your body so the whole pose gets a little longer. One more breath to reach up, then high plank to low plank. Upward facing dog, take your arm bones back, downward facing dog. Left side, leg in the air. Bend your knee, heel to your hip, turn your hips open. You might wiggle your toes just to get a sense of where they are, squeeze your fingers to the mat, and flip the pose over. 2 feet on the floor. Once you've got your feet on the floor and your right hand pressing into the mat, you get this chance to rise up out of your bottom shoulder, to lift up out of it, to take the weight out of it. Another breath, a lot of great wheels here. Side plank, left hand to the mat, face the long right side of your mat, stack your body up. You have so many options here. You could lift your top leg in the air, a little more core strength, hug your bottom knee into your chest as the addition to the pose. For everyone in the pose, open your chest up, strengthen the pit of your belly, and then float to the high plank, to the low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward for crescent lunge. So crescent lunge has you standing on the ball of your back foot while you're standing here, and in your felt sense, that's different from looking back, bring the knuckle of your back baby toe into the mat. That's different from the weight being in your big toe mound. Get even your baby toe on the mat and then lunge forward until your back heel stacks right on top of your toes. So from behind, your foot has this straight up and down quality. You can use this as an anchor. Just press back like you're pressing into a wall and lift up to the ceiling. Now, legs deep. Imagine you're pulling yourself up to the ceiling out of your legs. Strong pit of the belly, pull up and go back. One more breath, lift up, chest up and go back. Press hands to prayer position. Twist toward the right. Left elbow to your right knee. Now, while you're here, you can press your back foot back, but stretch your sides long. The sides of your body long. You're welcome to open your arms, to reach to the floor, to reach to the ceiling. Maybe to wrap your top arm around behind your back, to bind the pose half or fully. Now, wherever you are, we're taking 3 more breaths. Let's get ready for this. Inhale, stretch long. Exhale, twist. 2 more, stretch long and twist. Got 1 more, stretch and twist. Reach up to the crescent lunge and set your gaze. Open your body up to warrior 2. Let yourself settle into your feet. Point your right toes and your right knee straight to the front of your mat. That's it, Amy. And then your back foot, angle your toes in a little bit. So you might pick your back heel up, that's it, and swing it out. And then lunge down deep. Keep on breathing and feel how it is in your own skin right now. Do you feel your back leg too? Put some weight in your back foot if you don't. From here, stretch your arms apart, tilt for extended side angle. So you reach for the block or floor in front of your front knee. Once you get all of that set up, what we're looking to create is from the back foot up both sides of the body, a lot of length. So start by anchoring your back foot strong into the floor. And if you get your back foot so strongly connected to the ground, you might find your bottom arm, the right one, reaches forward with the left one. You end up with 2 arms reaching overhead, but it becomes easy because your back foot is so anchored. Another breath. Turn your chest to the ceiling, hands to the floor, chaturanga. You guys were working that. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, and feel how it is now. How it is from one side of your body to the other, how it is in your hips. Step your left foot forward for crescent lunge. Arms overhead, set your gaze. Tend to your breathing. Get inward into your own experience, and from there, out. Be aware of the other people in the room, the people practicing from home here in the room. Once you have your felt sense feet set up, you've got your deep lunge, you're lunging forward, reach up. That's it. Stay in your deep lunge and keep reaching up. See if you can look up and maybe go up and go back like you're reaching for the wall behind you. Take another breath. Just stretch for the wall behind you. Then hands to prayer position and twist. Right elbow to your left knee. Fire up your back leg. And then maybe do a little work in your shoulders and your chest. Squeeze your shoulders up to your ears and move them to the back of your body. Yes, try that a couple times, to your ears and to the back of your body, so that as you start creating the arm variations, you're breathing to expand your chest and upper back. So maybe arms open, half bind, full bind, keep the prayer hands. So many choices. 2 more breaths. You just expand your chest and upper back. That's it. You've got 1 more from here. Stay for the whole thing. Then crescent lunge. Warrior 2. Open up. Steady breathing and a set gaze will start to calm your system down. If the last pose felt like a little bit of work, you don't have to take a complete vacation from the practice. You can just re-ground yourself by setting your gaze and your breathing. Now, action in the back leg. Really anchor the back edge of your back foot down and lunge deep. Tilt for extended side angle. When you're tilting, you're just making length from the groin through the inner thigh of your left leg out to the inner knee. Bend your knee a lot. Bend it even more. You got it. And then with your back foot pressing, you can bind the pose or reach overhead, 1 arm or 2 arms. If you're reaching 2 arms, really anchor your back foot. Keep breathing and turn your chest to the ceiling. Now 2 breaths. Feel how the breath is in your body. 1 more. Good work. Hands to the floor for chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Stretch out. I am most interested in my own practice right now in the length of my side body and the space in my back ribs. Anchor your hands, soften your knees, and just pull your hips back out of your hands. Take another breath in, breath out, and move to the front of your mat. Halfway lift, forward fold. We'll take chair, twist to the right, set it up. You sit in the chair, hands to prayer, and twist toward the right. Left elbow to your right knee. Keep your breath flowing. A twist is set to challenge the space on our back ribs. So sit way back like your hips are sitting on the wall behind you, and fix your hips like they're fixed in space. Then stretch your sides as long as you can, and then build in however much rotation results from that. Take 3 more breaths. Back left ribs long. Finish your last breath, then reach up to chair pose and fold down. Open your feet hip width distance. Hook your big toes with your middle and index fingers and stretch your chest down to your toes. Now you can shake your head out, let the weight of your head hang down toward the mat. In doing this, maybe you'll start to become aware of your whole lower back area becoming more broad, your whole spine becoming more long. Let's do the other side. Release your toes, sit back, chair twist. Right elbow to your left knee. Left elbow to your right knee. Go the other way. How about that? Right elbow to your left. That's the other way. Kathy's got it. You might want to take a look at your own feet and your own knees. For a lot of us, sometimes we end up with a straight knee and a bent knee. Keep them equally bending. That might mean pulling back your right thigh a little bit and pressing forward your left thigh. Now 3 breaths. Sit deep and stretch. Last breath. Twist. Reach up to the chair pose. Forward fold. Gorilla pose is next. Feet hip width distance or wider. Slide your palms under your feet from the front so you're standing on your palms. Maybe toes the whole way to the wrist if they'll go there. Otherwise, you can just put your hands on a tall block. You can stand on your hands. Shift some weight around through your palms so you're getting this massage of your wrists and your palms. This pose kind of obvious, the stretch that's available in the backs of your legs and across your lower back. But as you're breathing here, you may start to notice opening in the pockets of your ribs right under your shoulder blades in the back. So we've got our hands all ready to go for us. Release them from beneath your feet and set your handstand hands on the floor. So that's all the fingers spread wide and your fingertips gripping the floor. Press your hands down. Make a diamond shape with your legs, knees outside of your armpits and a bend in your elbows. Then tilt your weight from your palm to your knuckles into your fingertips. From here, keep squeezing the floor or lift one or both feet in the air for crow pose. Get into your crow pose and take 5 breaths. Every time you exhale, press more into the floor and lift your core. When you finish the last breath, it's just chest forward and to whatever ability, legs back for chaturanga. Wide set in your hands will be helpful. Once you get to the chaturanga, take up dog to downward facing dog and stretch back. Let's do another one of those. One deep breath in, open up your mouth and sigh. Let's get ready to move. Inhale, exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, fold down. Take your time, hang, press your feet into the mat and roll up to standing. One bone at a time. Roll your shoulders open, unwind your neck and set your gaze. Right arm or arms overhead, right side eagle pose. You can wrap your right arm under your left, squat, right leg over your left and tuck your toes behind your calf muscle. Right arm under, right leg over. Gaze set. Have you ever considered taking on your practice with this overarching theme or intention of it being a celebration of the incredible wonder that your own body is in whatever condition it's come into the room? Step out, arms overhead, left side. Left arm under, left leg over. Breathe and feel how incredible it is to be alive in this body. Feel your ribs expand to the sides, to the front and the back. Feel them rise. Feel your diaphragm lower as you breathe. Step out. Hug your right knee into your chest. Stay standing tall. Ideally, you keep your standing foot heel behind the middle toe, and then with your hand on your toe or the outside of your foot or using a strap, hold onto your foot and extend your knee. So yes, there's a lot of stretch you'll get on the back of this kicking leg, but as you hold on, you'll get a lot of stretch in your back, right, bottom, shoulder blade, and rib area. Doesn't matter if your leg that's kicking is straight or bent. Most of us will have a bend in our knee. Of course, you can always hold your knee, but I would recommend a strap and kicking if you can. Another breath. Hug your knee into your chest if you're not already holding it. And then we'll open up for airplane pose. So stretch wide open from the outset and then tilt. Steady breathing. Oftentimes I like to take my hands behind my back and even interlace them here. So it helps me to get my arm bones on my back. That lets me create a lifting quality in the pose. Hands to prayer position next at the center of your chest. Press them in. Get grounded by pressing your hands. Then half moon. Left fingertips to the floor. Right arm in the air and stretch open. From the middle of you out to the edges, toes and fingertips, you stretch. One of the pieces of imagery that helps me in a balancing pose like this is to imagine myself in the center of a circle. And I'm reaching out and touching the circle with my hands, my feet, my head. And then all I have to do is hug the pit of my belly. Forward fold. Sway from side to side. Grab your strap. If you're using it, come up to standing and take the left side. Hug your left knee into your chest. Extend your left knee. Bring your breathing. Bring your breathing. Whatever your expression of the pose is today, as discovered by you, from hearing the instructions, but listening to your body and feeling what it's ready for, what's possible from right here? An easy, steady breath, a quality of aliveness inside of your own skin, a sense of health and well-being. Hug your knee into your chest, airplane pose. I think one of the most incredible things we have access to in our practice is pose by pose and breath by breath, creating a sense of healthiness inside of ourselves. However we are, accepting it and choosing it, and then celebrating it. And then encouraging and creating well-being. Hands to prayer position. Half moon, right hand down, left arm up. The easiest way to hold a balancing pose is to set your gaze and then from the center to reach out. When you really master reach out, maybe you also develop hug in. 3 more breaths. If you find a part of your body's kind of gone weak on the pose, fire it up for the last breath. And then forward fold and hang. Sway from side to side, maybe rock the weight from foot to foot, and then bring yourself up to standing. One set of dancer's pose. So right arm bone goes back. Roll your forearm open so your palm faces away from you. Keep that arm position. Don't change anything about it. Bend your right knee. Hold your ankle from the inside. Left arm in the air. Now stretch your right knee down and your left arm up. You'll feel your right quad muscles, your thigh stretching. Keep all that and make your belly strong. And then start to kick your foot into your hand while you reach your left arm opposite of the foot that's kicking into your hand. So your body, it should occur to you like a tug of war between the foot kicking and the arm reaching. When you feel like you're in the maximum edge of it, kicking and reaching, then also kick up and press down. I would bring the vision of the circle here to you again. Reach out into your edges. And step out. Second side, left arm bone moves back. Roll your forearm and palm open. Hold your ankle from the inside. Right arm in the air. You got it. Start with your knees together and then drive your knees straight back. Bring your breathing. Shorten that strap next time if you can, Charlie, or even here. You can go shorter. I can see that. That's looking kind of easy. Take yourself now to the edge of the pose for you. Reach. So something that's not casual, but you're really reaching for, the intensity of the edge. And then come on out. Nice work. Front of your mat for tree pose. So the left foot on the ground, the sole of your right foot to your left inner thigh or inner shin or toes on the ground, heel your ankle. Then bring your palms together and press them together. Use your palms to anchor and settle your system, settle your breathing, settle your attention. Feel how it is in your body, and then from the feeling of how it is in your body, then choose your next arm position. Is it that you want more expression? You'll reach up. Maybe you'll be just reaching one side up while the other hand rests on your knee or in front of it to get a deep stretch on the inner sides of your deepest core muscles. Maybe you'll interlace and press forward to get the stretch on your outer wrist and forearm, or take the reverse prayer pose, but pick the one that gives the result you're looking to create. Switch sides. Right foot down, left foot up, palms together. Start with creating the grounding. In the creating of the grounding, you'll want to press the mound of your big toe down and the center of your heel down. And then from the pelvis to the crown, lift up. Oh, you got it. Keep the pit of your belly lifting because you want to feel this drop down your back. Then choose the next arm position for your practice. Step to the front of your mats. When you arrive at the front, inhale, reach your arms overhead, fold to the floor as you exhale. Lift up halfway, drop to the chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Keep your breath steady. Step your right foot inside of your right hand, triangle pose. Anchor your foot, reach your left arm into the air and breathe. Once you get into the triangle pose, you can keep your feet pretty long apart in a triangle pose. Make a long foundation. Once you're in the pose, lift your 10 toes into the air and spread your 10 toes. And with your 10 toes in the air, press the mound of each big toe down. And press the center of each heel down. Once you have that, lift up from your pelvis to your crown. Come on up to standing. Face the long left side of your mat. Hands to your hips. Lift your chest up high and forward fold. Double check that your feet are parallel to the short sides of your mat. Walk your fingertips in front of you and create that your palms are arcing in the air. You'll even feel as your fingertips press down that your armpits even deepen. Breathe in. And as you exhale and your fingers stay anchored, sink your hips back behind your heels. Now you can drop your head down toward the ground as you breathe. And in this position where you've created it that your whole body's stretching long, breathe and feel the expansion and the space being created between each one of your ribs. One more breath here. Walk your hands in, come up to standing, turn to face the front of your mat. Standing single leg forward fold. Ensure that there's length between your feet and width. Take your hands then around behind your back and create prayer hands. Press your palms together. You can take splits if you prefer. Then lift your chest up high and forward fold. Go a little longer in your feet. Yeah. Keep your breath flowing. You should really feel this in the back of the leg that's in front. Amy, bring your back foot toward Grace a little more. A little more with the back foot. Yes. You got it. So we want the hips from the bird's eye view, there you go, to be square. Yeah, any angle in your back foot works. Can you feel your hamstrings in this front leg? Good. That's it. Nice. Keep your legs the way you have them right now, the way they're created. Feel how the weight is between the two. And then drop your left fingertips down to the block or floor. Keep your legs. So we don't want to lean now into the left hand and swing the right hips to the side. We want to keep it forward and back, very linear. Then you take a breath and stretch long through your spine and then see about some rotation. We don't want to start shifting the weight into the front leg and the hips to the side. Maintain your feet. Maintain your legs. And then while you're breathing, it's like a tug of war. Imagine someone's pulling your hips back, but you're stretching your spine long. One more inhale. Now twist on your exhale. Hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Stretch out. Yeah, feel your own feeling in your own body, your own skin. You've got a lot of change on one side, the other side's craving it. Can you sense that? Let's go for it. Left side, step your left foot forward, triangle pose. Steady flow of breath. Once you get your shape set up, the geometry of the pose, then you work with the actions of the things that animate the pose. Pressing your big toes down will help. Pulling the pit of your belly in will add to that as well. Steady flow of breath, a drishti. These things all make a difference in animating the pose. Keep your breath flowing and feel how the pose is in your body. See if there's any more expression that would feel just complete for you in the pose today. Nice. It's fascinating to watch some of your bodies, how they, like Charlie, Chuck, your bodies have changed so much over the years. Come on up to standing. Turn to face the long right side of the mat, arms behind you, interlace your hands, lift your chest up high, forward fold. Let your hands spill overhead. You could always hold a strap between hands. If your hands, when they're bound, don't move off your hips. Or you just want to try something else. Amy, both feet parallel to the short sides of your mat. Yes, just like that. How do you practice for days, weeks, months, years? And in the end of that, look back and say, wow, my body changed, how I think changed, my whole world changed. It's by breath, feeling how it is in your body, looking to create new space, let go of old holding patterns, and inviting into your body, your system, a new abundant health. Come on up to standing. Standing single leg forward fold. Now the left leg is the forward leg. Hands behind your back. Prayer hands. If you can, you could always have them pointing downward, forward fold. Keep your feet long apart. There should be a challenge to keeping your hips square. That's it, Tina. That's it, Susan. Just like that. Little softness to your front knee, David. Yes. Jenny, if your back heel lifts, that's okay. And for everybody, you're free in your back foot to have your heel lift a little bit or any angle. Sometimes people think their back foot has to point straight forward, and it doesn't. Twisting triangle, the right hand goes to the block or floor. Try to imagine your hips, your sitting bones, your seat, reaching to the wall behind you, like your seat is sitting on the wall behind you. When you have that sense of your hips sitting on the wall behind you, you then can stretch your chest, your waist, your sides out of your hips. Another breath in. Turn on your exhale, then hands to the floor to downward facing dog. Stretch back. And you can come out to a high plank position and lower all the way down to your belly on the mat. We'll take one set of locust pose. Why don't you take your fingertips, like your pointer finger, your middle and index finger, and find that little hollow spot right behind your ears where they just slide in from the sides of your ears, how they just slide into that little gully, and then just drag upward toward the top of your skull a little bit. So it's just tiny pressure. Now, lift up into your locust pose by pressing the back of your head into those fingertips. This will help to keep the back of your neck just as long as the front of your neck and the sides of your neck, and build a little bit of extra strength through your neck up into the back of your head. So just tiny little bit of pressure, keeping the back of your neck long, and then you are pressing, like the back of your head's pressing toward the ceiling. Come on down. You can shake your hips from side to side. And then bend your knees. We'll take 2 sets of floor bow pose. Reach back and hold your ankles. Flex your feet. Kick your feet back into your hands and then up into the ceiling. You might choose to take it one side at a time. That would be an option. Big toes, press them up to the ceiling. Knees only hip width distance. That's it. And come on back down. Shake your hips from side to side. We'll take a second set of floor bow. So if you're doing one side at a time, take the other side. Otherwise, bend your knees, reach back and hold your ankles. Knees only hip width distance. Kick back into your feet and up toward the ceiling. Come on out of it. Now hands to the floor beside your bottom ribs. Take your shoulders up to your ears and to the back of your body. So up to your ears and to the back of your body. Then chest through your arms, upward facing dog. So up to the ears, to the back of the body, chest up. Yep, that's it. Keep your arm bones back. Downward facing dog. Stretch out. We'll take one set of camel pose. Come down to the mat on your knees. Toes turned under behind you. Lift from your knees, up your quads, up the pit of your belly, all the way up to the ceiling. Hands in your back pockets. Keep the lift happening in the front of your body so high you start to go back into a back bend. Different from any sort of like sink and move backwards. We want lift and that to take you back. From knees up to the chest, up to the chin, a lift. For a lot of us, especially the low pelvis, lift it up toward the ceiling. In the front, lift. Then come up out of the pose, hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Stretch back. You can jump through your hands, sit down and roll onto your back or get onto your back for a bridge pose. Set your feet hip width distance and feet at 12 o'clock and sink them down into your mat like they're just sinking into sand by the edge of the ocean, and hug them into each other. Then lift your hips up into the air. Keep the sense of your feet sinking down into the mat and hugging in toward the center line. So just let them get heavy from the knuckle of the big toes down and a sense of hugging in. See if there's more room to tuck your shoulder blades under your body and let your shoulders become a foundation piece of the pose. And you can bring yourself back down out of this pose and move your knees from side to side. Second set of bridge, go on up into the bridge pose. Once you get into the bridge, you can stay with this or we'll move into wheel. Once you get to the bridge, fingertips to the ceiling, flex your wrists and put your hands on the floor under your shoulders. You can set them wide. The tighter your shoulders are, the wider you'll set. Then press your hands into the ground and lift your hips up into the air, up to the ceiling. Now, both your hands and your feet are foundation. Let them sink into the mat. and hug them in toward the center line, toward your thumb and toward your big toe. Come on down. Knees side to side. We're doing 2 more. Set it up. I always like to approach the wheel out of a bridge pose. So I start in the bridge, set your hands wide, press down, rise up. That's it. Sync with your thumbs. Sync with your big toes and hug in. Come on down. Knees side to side. Okay, this is going to be our last one. So we're going to really go for something here. Get it set up, bridge or wheel, all the way up. All the way up into your bridge or wheel. And here we go, 10 breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. Now 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on down. Supta Baddha Konasana. So your soles of your feet together, knees out wide, and just let the length through your inseam out to your knees get long. You can hug your knees into your chest. Dead bug pose next, where you reach up for the outer edges of your feet, so your feet look like they're standing on the ceiling. Pull your knees back to your shoulders. You look like a bug that got flipped over on its back. Then you can rock from side to side, so maybe your bug didn't actually die. It's rocking from side to side. That could feel really good on your lower back. The knees into your chest and put your feet on the floor like you did for bridge. Once your feet are on the floor, lift your hips up a little bit and just stretch your whole lower back long and your hips toward your heels so that once you sit your hips down, the entirety of your lower back is on the ground. You can even rest your hands on your low belly for a second. Breathe in. Let your hands get heavy. Blow out and sink your abdominal muscles deep so your entire lower back is on the floor, and keep it there. Then bring your shins up parallel to the floor. Is your low back still on the ground? Curl up and reach to the opposite end of your mat. Now really sink the pit of your belly down. So when we add any more to this exercise, we don't want your lower back leaving the floor. We're just going to tap the heels down and up. That's going to be further than some of your low bellies will manage. Some will just move down and back up a little. Some will just hold here. So 10 taps, lower back on the ground the whole time. You can blow out. Each time you've completed the tap, blow out and suck your knees back in. Blow out, tap, blow out. 3 more times. Tap and blow out, tap. Whole lower back still on the ground. Last one, hug your knees into your chest. So what we don't want to have happen here is that, as if you can imagine, I'm lying on the ground and my belly's in, I've got my whole lower back down. I don't want, as I tap my heels, my back to arch and then go back down. I want to keep these low abdominals so strong my back doesn't arch. Take 2 legs up in the air. Curl up and reach for your ankles. While you're here, breathe in, blow out, and sink your belly deep. Now, when we take this next exercise, no need to drop your head back and look up. Just keep looking through your legs. Breathe in, blow out, and reach. Breathe in, blow out, and reach. It's a tiny little movement. Reach 8 more times. Yeah, tiny little movement. You probably are rising up, but what you're really doing is sinking your belly deeper and deeper. You should the whole time feel your whole lower back on the ground. Finish the last one and hug your knees into your chest, and then you can rock head to tail through to downward facing dog. Once you're in your downward facing dog, we'll take pigeon pose on the right side. So bring your right knee forward on the mat to your right hand. And then double check that your right thigh is parallel to the side of the mat. Slide a block under your hip if you feel the need to sit to the side. We want it from the bird's eye view so that your 2 sides of the pelvis are level. Add intensity by squaring your shin to the front of the mat. If you're ready for it, fold forward. You can be taking a variation lying on your back. While you're here in this pose, take a deep breath in, open up your mouth, and have a sigh. Then hands to the ground under your shoulders, back to downward facing dog, left leg forward for pigeon pose. left knee to your left hand on the floor, a block perhaps under your left hip or a folded up towel. You can see all kinds of variations being taken. How do you know what's the best variation for you? Something that brings you to the edge. What that means is it takes something for you to focus and to keep your breath steady, but it also holds your focus and helps you keep your breath steady. From here, sit on your left hip, swing your right leg around and roll onto your back. Once you're on your back, you have two choices: waterfall pose, where you're flat on your back with your legs straight up in the air, or roll your feet overhead to plow pose. Once you get into your inverted pose, do whatever moving and around you need to do to find some stillness, to just sort your body out and get it to be able to settle in. You'll want to still set your gaze on one still point in the room. And then to work to steady your breath. Just as steady on the third count of the inhale or the exhale as it was on the first count. Mm-hmm. Always helpful to take a sigh in any pose to bring a greater degree of access to just being able to let go. Bring yourself toward the finishing pose for this particular posture that you're in. So if it's a shoulder stand, your finishing pose would be a plow pose or the deaf man's pose. If you decided to take a handstand or something, it'd be child's pose. Waterfall, it's bringing yourself to a flat back with knees into your chest. Ultimately, make your way onto your back, completely onto your total flat back. Once you're on your flat back, hug your right knee into your chest and allow your left leg to rest long on the mat. Then take your right knee across your body to the left. You can let your left leg rest down. Yep. Be really nice to aim for your block and rest your shin on the block or your knee on the block. Your right arm can reach and relax wherever it's comfortable, or if it's just suspended in the air, you can always just like rest it on your hip. Just let it be easy. Come to the center and hug your knees into your chest. Keep your left knee this time and straighten your right leg down long on your mat, and you may find that you want to move your block to the other side. Take your left knee across your body to your block. Give yourself this mark. Ideally, from the floor to the ceiling, your hips are stacked up one on top of the other. Then onto your flat back, hug your knees in your chest. The next pose, Supta Baddha Konasana. Soles of your feet together, knees open wide. In the studio, you have a cold eye towel to your right or to your left. Maybe at home, your room is cool and you need a blanket. Pull out whatever tools you need to set yourself up for Shavasana. So legs out long and wide, arms wide with your palms facing the ceiling. This pose is named for its intention, which is deep rest. I'll read to you from Journey to the Heart while you rest. This entry is called Move Gently into Forgiveness. I never knew how much I blamed and hated myself. I never knew how much shame and self-contempt I picked up from situations I'd been through until I really forgave myself and felt how that feels, one woman said to me. Loving yourself, forgiving yourself, accepting yourself, all of these feel different from judging yourself. Many of us have lived with so much judgment of ourselves that we take these feelings for granted. We just think that's how we're doomed to feel until we do forgive ourselves. We don't realize how much we need to and how good, how great, how absolutely terrific that feels. I was leery of forgiveness for many years. I thought forgiveness implied judging. And because judging was wrong and I shouldn't do it, I didn't need to forgive. The problem was, whether right or wrong, I had judged myself, and now I needed forgiveness. Self-judgment sets us apart, separates us from the rest of the world in an undesirable way. Forgiving ourselves reconnects us to the world, to God, to ourselves. We can forgive ourselves for what we've done wrong, what we've done badly, and what we think we could have done better. We can transcend our judgments of ourselves. Move gently into forgiveness. Love, forgive, and accept yourself. See how connected you feel. See how free you really are and always have been. See how much better you feel. Begin to deepen your breathing. Wiggle your fingers and your toes and give them a squeeze. Hug your knees to your chest and roll to your side. Then bring yourself up to a sitting position. Once you get settled into your seat, sitting tall, just close your eyes for another moment. Bring your hands into prayer position at the center of your chest and feel how it is to be inside of your skin right now. Be present to whatever it is you're experiencing. And then offer yourself a few words of gratitude and appreciation for how magnificent this body is that you're in. One more time, we'll chant Om together. Take a deep breath in. Bring your thumb knuckles to the center of your forehead and inhale. Exhale. Namaste. Thank you all for being here. Thank you at home, Jenny and Anne, and anyone else who will join later. I will be teaching again in just a little bit if you want a double header. Otherwise, I'll teach on Sunday morning at 10. Bye. I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys all for joining in. I'll see you next time.